Today marks 100 years since the British Broadcasting Corporation was created. It started with just 4 employees and the promise of no news before 7 o'clock in the evening.
It's changed a bit since
Sorry
then.
about that.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. And one inspiration for creating a service offering entertainment on the airwaves was an experimental programme broadcast from Chelmsford in 1922. Well, there's now an exhibition about these maverick pioneers, as David Sillito reports.
Hello, Marconi House, London, calling. Hello, Marconi House, London, calling.
The voice you're listening to is Arthur Burrows, the man who pretty much came up with the idea of the BBC. He was the first voice ever broadcast on the BBC in 1922. However, when it comes to the idea of using the airwaves for entertainment, there was another pioneer.
And one of my favourites, Hilda Matheson, who's also a character in the book I'm doing.
100 years on, I went to meet the comedian Paul Carenza, who's created a show about Arthur and his rather more entertaining rival. Who actually was the first real radio broadcaster who did what we would understand as a radio programme?
Well, I think you've got to look to Peter Eckersley, who became the first chief engineer of the BBC, really.
Peter Eckersley?
Peter Eckersley, this wild broadcaster who would improvise opera.
The Kenny Everett of his day.
The Kenny Everett of his day, the pre-Goon Goon. He was the guy who actually really, I think, sparked demand for radio sets, and he just wanted to have fun with it.
This is Peter Eckersley. His reputation has been rather tainted by a later flirtation with the British Union of Fascists before later redeeming himself somewhat by joining the British war effort. But in 1922, he created Britain's first regular radio programme, and its popularity helped inspire the creation of the BBC. And here's a taste of Peter's style.
Usual song, I know. Dearest, the concert's ended, sad wails the heterodyne. You must soon switch off your valves, I must soon switch off mine.
And this is why we've had to come to Chelmsford, because this is the Writtle Hut, where back in 1922 a group would gather once a week and invented the idea of entertainment on the airwaves, broadcasting. It pretty much all began here. This is the hut where Peter Eckersley broadcast every Tuesday. And while the hut isn't open to the public, Chelmsford Museum has created a digital version of the Writtle Hut to celebrate these pioneers of entertainment. So this is the technology. What were they actually doing? What was their broadcasting?
Well, their brief was to kind of create experimental entertainment broadcasts. And what came out was very jovial, very
not
frivolous.
very BBC.
Not very BBC at all, no. No, it was quite anarchic in many ways. A lot of the shows almost feel like they were kind of precursors to the Goon Show or something like that, but kind of 40 years earlier.
They were having a laugh.
They really were, yeah. But they all went to the pub beforehand.
They went to the pub before they broadcast?
As part of their planning for the programme for the evening.
These were gin-fuelled broadcasts?
Absolutely, yes. Certainly one of them was.
So a bit more, not quite, we imagine sort of the bow ties and dinner suits of early BBC. This is a bit more anarchic.
Absolutely, yes.
You must soon switch off your valves, I must soon switch off.
And 100 years on, you can still hear echoes of the two men. The BBC of serious, highbrow Arthur versus his rather more anarchic colleague, Captain Eckersley.
And like that.
David Sillito, BBC News, Chelmsford.
Good night, CQ. God bless you and keep you. I can't. God bless you. Good night. Good night.
Don't think we've had enough gin.
I think we should start the programme like that every morning, shouldn't we? That was a lovely piece by David. Great to see 100 years ago today.